I used to have a lot to say when I was younger, or at least I thought I did. Most people did, I suppose. In my early 20s, I thought I was pretty clever. I probably was. Not exceptional, but not just off the turnip truck either. Things weren't too bad. I worked in radio up until the age of 25, and I can't say the word radio without having some kind of glow around it. It really was an enjoyable profession, and one that I missed terribly. Something I'd worked very hard to get into in the first place throughout my teens. I began volunteering at the public radio station in Louisville, WFPL, when I was about 15 years old. So my relationship with them lasted about 10 years altogether. I moved to Austin, Texas in January of 1996. And at this point, I chose not to get back into the radio profession. I sort of poked around a little bit at the local National Public Radio affiliate here in Austin, KUTFM, and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the home I'd grown up in. It wasn't the thing that drove my passions about the medium. So, that brings me to my mid-20s, and finding I didn't really have as much to say as I thought, or I didn't have anywhere to say it. The two things are very closely related. I skated through my 20s, got to 30 or so, and decided that, aside from radio, my other passion, my other burning desire was to do comic books. Well, I decided at the age of 30 that I'd been claiming to be a cartoonist for 5 years, but hadn't actually put out any comics since I left Louisville for Austin, Texas. With that in mind, I decided that by the end of 2001, I was going to release a comic book, and I was going to do so on an annual basis at a minimum as part of what I perceived as a 5-year plan. The first comic book I released that year, and the only one actually, well no, not the only one, but the first full-length comic book I released that year was called Mondo Simeon. I produced it with Justin Estes, a longtime friend of mine, who I really hadn't known that long. We met the last year I was in Louisville, and found that we had a similar love of comics, both creating them and reading them, and most of our friendship was actually long distance. Well, sometime in 2001 we decided to do a comic book together, and in doing so we created what we jokingly refer to as the world's longest mini-comic. Mini-comics are so-called not because of page length, although that is a factor at times, but because of size. It's usually a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, folded over twice and then cut, like so. This is how you make a mini comic. Fold it down there, like so. Fold it there, like so. Cut along one edge, and you have an 8-page booklet. Our plan was to do a 100-page mini comic, this size, 100 pages, and we did so. I found myself producing it digitally to get it ready for print. And it was my first experience using the computer for art-related items. I did so on September 11th, 2001. I sat at the computer all day, scanning in images, resizing them, getting them ready to go off to the printer. Now, of course, I'm assuming most people viewing this know what happened in America, specifically New York City, but Washington, D.C. as well. We'll forget about that one sometime, unless you're into the conspiracy of it. And points out and about, airplanes crashed into the World Trade Center, destroying it and killing 3,500 people. We also had an airline crash in Pennsylvania, which killed another plane load of people, and then another airline, which is less discussed insofar as the human element, that crashed into the Pentagon and is usually fodder for conspiracy bullshit. Well, that all happened the morning that I was doing this, but I was determined to get the work done because I was due to go to a comic convention for small press cartoonists on September 16th, 5 days away. Now, by the end of the day, all the airports were shut down. Hell, within a couple of hours, all the airports were shut down. But by night, it was obvious that they weren't going to be reopening by September 16th. By September 12th, all of us were informed that the show was in fact canceled, and we could look forward to the one in 2002. I never went. It was the Small Press Expo in Bethesda, Maryland, by the way. The airport? Washington, D.C.'s airport. So, just not a good thing that year. Didn't work out. That's my primary 9/11 memory. That and, various frantic phone calls with my loved one and my co-worker and boss, Sarah, some other people here and there, of course, Stan and others, trading phone calls around. But that was actually the beginning of my comic book career. So here's to 5 glorious years of making comic books.